Hello, everyone. I hope you are feeling good, even after the long COVID spells. So, today I am presenting my research paper on the women's well-being in the role of digital technology and evidence from multiple indicator cluster survey 2017-18. I am Hania Shabbir. So, my presentation plan would be that first of all, I'll be introducing my topic, then I'll be briefly discussing the research gap, the hypothesized framework, and will be elaborating my research methodology. Then I'll move towards my analysis of empirical results. Then I'll be winding up my presentation with some suggestions. So, Pakistan is the world's fifth most populous country and second largest South Asian country, with a population of about 223 million. And we are taking this country because women in Pakistan, their status vary along different clusters, regions, mainly due to the rural-urban divide and the presence of tribal and feudal institutions in Pakistan. It is basically a patriarchal society in which women live a compromised life because the main decisions of their lives are basically taken by the men in their lives. And this is why, according to the global gender gap, Pakistan is ranked as 153rd amongst the 156 countries. So the UN Women 2020 report says that after COVID-19, the compound pre-existing gender inequalities are going to increase and intensify, which means that in Pakistan, the situation is going to be worse if not controlled properly. Now let's take a look at the variable of ICT, which is the main variable in our study. So information communication technology and well-being of women is interrelated. How and why? Let's take a look at what is well-being. So it's important to understand what well-being is. It is the phenomenon which includes the emotional responses, domain satisfactions, those life satisfactions which one achieves through work, personal life, or social life. So it is a multi-dimensional concept, and it roams around different individuals and social groups in different countries and is explained by various of the characteristics. In the recent years, after the global advancements, we get to see that well-being is determined by ICT, because the flow of information, services, communication, and goods have changed the dynamics of the world. So now the economic development and everything depends upon ICT. And so the well-being also is very closely interlinked with ICT. As we've discussed the case of Pakistan, we have seen that ICTs have strength to cross the barrier of illiteracy, and it can help the most disadvantaged women living in Pakistan. So in case of Pakistan, it is a very, very important study. Pakistan can be said a digitalized country because from the population of 227 million, 186.9 million people are using mobile phones, 82.9% of people are having access to internet, and 71.17 million people are having access to the social media platforms. But still we see the gender divided. You can see the table that when we get to see the social media, we see that it is male dominated. Women have a lesser share, both as the users or as the content creators or as the advertisers. So my research questions would be that the first purpose of the study is to provide new medical evidence on the possible association of women's well-being with factors such as their personal characteristics, environmental factors, and attitudes and beliefs. The second purpose will be to empirically investigate the role of ICT in determining the subjective and material well-being of women, controlling for the demographic factors. And based on the quantitative findings, it will be an objective of the study to propose policies geared towards increasing the subjective and material well-being of women in the post-COVID world. So the research questions would be: do physical environment and attitudes and beliefs of women significantly determine women's subjective and material well-being? And to what extent access to ICT-related technology determines subjective and material well-being? Now, this is the conceptual framework. This is proposed by Cassie Lecky 2013, in which we get to see that the person characteristics, the work life, private life, the external environment, all of these domains affect the happiness and subjective well-being of women. Now, the Cassie proposes that all these domains are then affected by ICT. And so ICT is indirectly affecting the subjective well-being of women. So this is basically my hypothesized framework. And using all these theoretical underpinnings, I'll be looking at how ICT is going to impact women in different aspects of their lives. This is the brief literature review. I'll not be going into detail. You can look at it later. It basically states that there was mixed evidence in case of Pakistan and all over the world about the impact of rural-urban dwelling, about the headship of household, about neighborhood households, about safety in different parts of the world. And we get to see different evidence. As in the case of Pakistan, we see that urban areas are more happier and female-headed households are better in terms of their wealth index. And then we see that neighborhood households are, when safe, then individuals pursue their goals and their happiness increases. So the feeling of safety ensures the well-being of every person. And then we get to see the impact of ICT on people. So again, we have mixed views about the impact of ICT. We get to see that access to ICT increases the material aspirations of people, and so the subjective well-being is negatively affected. So Volkmer and Lerner suggest that it is negatively affected. Hermes suggests that people who watch TV for 2 or more hours are more likely to have less satisfaction from their life and their incomes. And then Bakir and Nemati postulate that socioeconomic development from the viewpoint of the citizens of the country, and they say that the economic transformation can happen through ICT. So ICT has a positive impact. So we see that there is mixed evidence across the board about the impact of ICT. We get to have a study based on the impact of ICT on well-being, so that we can assess what is the impact of it in case of Pakistan, and especially in case of women. There's a dearth of literature related to the role of technologies and how they affect the relationship between material and subjective well-being. Also, we get to see in recent years that there's high figure rate of ICT innovations due to their deliberate focus on well-being of humans. Existing literature provides mixed evidence on the role of ICT. So based on the culture, institutions, class, and gender, role of ICT changes. So in the existing patriarchal structure of Pakistan, we have to study the role of ICT. According to author's knowledge, this is going to be the first study on this topic. This is my hypothesized framework, in which I'll show you my independent variables. They are. Actually, I'll be having 2 models, in which the first one is physical environment model, second one is attitudes. So as postulated by Gastulecki, I'll be looking at the total household members of the woman. I'll be looking at her safety, mainly if she's physically attacked ever or not. if she's ever victimized, if she feels safe in her household, if she feels safe in her neighborhood, and what is the area in which she lives, and who is the head of the household. So this is the physical environment of women. We'll be looking at how this physical environment affects the subjective well-being and the material well-being of women, which is taken as the well score of women. So the second model would be attitudes and beliefs, in which we'll be seeing that what are the women beliefs about gender-based violence and how they affect the subjective and material well-being of women. What a woman feels discriminated or not, what is her perception of the future life. And the ICT variables would include information, communication, and technology. Information will be comprised by the index of newspaper, radio, and television. Communication will be comprised by the index of use of computer, internet, and mobile. And technology will be proxied by the amount of skills a woman has about the ICT. So, methodology I'll be using is this data set is being taken from MICS, Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, 2017-18, in which 74,010 women were successfully interviewed. These women are aged between 15 and 49, and it comprises of both urban and rural areas. OLS evaluation is used to see the impact of ICT and all these variables on subjective and material. So by I, I'm denoting the person woman characteristics. By J, I am denoting the physical environment variables. By K, I'm denoting the attitudes and beliefs of those women. And then by L, I will be denoting the use of ICT. These are my empirical results discussion. Let's go through them briefly. So this table pertains to the impact of physical environment on life satisfaction of women. The physical environment variables are the area, total household members, head of the household, sex, if the woman is physically attacked or not, her neighborhood safety, her household safety, and if she is victimized or not even. So we get to see that all these variables are significant, highly significant actually, and we get to see that when a woman lives in the rural area, her life satisfaction increases. When the total household members increases, her life satisfaction increases. When the head of the household is female, her life satisfaction decreases, but this is insignificant. So we cannot explain this variable. Then we see that if the woman is physically attacked, her life satisfaction decreases as denoted by the negative sign. And when she feels more safe in the neighborhood, her life satisfaction increases. When her household safety is increased, her life satisfaction increases. And when she's not victimized at all, her life satisfaction increases. From her personal characteristics, we get to see that education has positive impact. Woman's age has negative impact. As the way age increases, life satisfaction decreases. The women who are currently married have higher life satisfaction compared to the women who are formerly or never. Also, having more disability increases the life satisfaction, and wealth also positively affects the life satisfaction. When we add the variables of information into the model, we see it as highly significant and has positive impact. When we add the communication variable, we see it has the positive impact and highly significant. And when we see the usage variable, which is the amount of softwares and computer knowledge a woman has, then it is insignificant, which overall becomes significant but is negative. Let's explain these research a bit more. Findings of the studies imply that women who live in rural areas are more close to nature and are more connected with their life as compared to women who live in the urban areas. So rural dwellers have significantly higher life satisfaction as compared to urban dwellers in Pakistan, after controlling for the socio-economic factors because of differences in levels of insecurity, frames of comparison, and levels of social interaction. This has also been seconded by the Princeton study 2013. However, these findings are against the finding of Ali and Haq in Pakistan, which was carried in 2006. Also, in Bangladesh, we see the evidence that high economic status, which is the wealth score, is increasing the life satisfaction and happiness. Also, female-headed households have less functioning and well-being as compared to male-headed households. So they have their lower subjective well-being as postulated by Beagle and Edefia. Safety is also one of the major variables, and it is determining the life satisfaction of women. This may be because individuals who perceive their neighborhood safe are more functional, and hence their happiness increases. Neighborhood households have both physical and social attributes, which are important for individuals' health and well-being. Secure environment enables individuals in pursuing their goals, which in turn increases their happiness, as postulated by Hart 2018. So this is my second table in which I get to see the impact of wealth score on the subjective well-being of, I get to see the impact of physical characteristics on wealth score of women. So we get to see that area, if the women belong to rural area, they have less wealth score. If the household member increases, their wealth score increases. If it is headed by a female, their wealth score increases. If they are not attacked, if they're attacked, their wealth score decreases. If they do not feel safe, their wealth score decreases. If they are not victimized, their wealth score increases, but this is insignificant. This result is insignificant. And then we get to see that education, women's age, and no disability also has an impact on the wealth score. When we add the variable of communication, we see it is highly significant. Information is also highly significant. And ICT skills variable is also highly significant. So let's discuss these results a bit more. We see that economic opportunities are linked with development. Hence, less development in rural areas hinders the vertical mobility. In urban areas, women have more access to material things and hence they have better living standards. They have the better living standards. So the current study provides evidence that living in rural areas lessens the well-being in terms of material well-being. This variable also enforces the nexus between development and economic opportunities. Lodhi 2019 also suggested that the socioeconomic status and increasing age reduces quality of life and so when a person belongs to rural area, they have fewer opportunities and have less attainment of their goals. Raja Ram also articulated that Indian female-headed households are less worse compared to male-headed households. This is a very important finding because when a house is headed by a female, more resources are devoted for joint consumption purposes, which leads to the increase in material well-being of the household. This is a very positive sign, and we can do further studies to look into this. So let's briefly discuss the role of ICT in well-being. We see that information variable is highly significant, and it is positively affecting the life satisfaction of women. This finding is contrary to the findings of Lohman, but is consistent with the finding of Carol Graham, which states that mobile and internet access increases subjective well-being, and it allows people to have access to more technologies, and then they can go for economic change because development is possible with the provision of resources and opportunities. We can discuss here as we saw that ICT skills variable was negative. This can be justified because USMA report says that when people gain access to new technologies, economic change or economic development reduces frustration, and societies take time in the disruption of existing processes and overcoming challenges. So these hindrances, when women face these hindrances, their well-being is negatively affected. This is my third model in which I'll be looking at the attitudes and beliefs of women and then impact on the life satisfaction of women. When a woman is not discriminated, her life satisfaction increases. When her views about domestic violence, when she does not allows domestic violence, then her life satisfaction increases. When she feels good about her future life, her life satisfaction increases. Similarly, when information is added, her life satisfaction increases. Communication variable is here insignificant, and usage ICT skills is also slightly significant, but becomes significant and is yet again negative, which we explained earlier. So we get to see here that when ICT skills are added respectively, information is provided to be highly significant, whereas communication is insignificant. And gender and age discrimination is the most common form of discrimination. Current study evidence is also supported by data from European Social Survey, which says that subjective well-being is negatively associated with age and gender discrimination. If a woman feels genderly discriminated, then she feels she does not feel well. Also, the study found that women who do not justify domestic violence have better subjective well-being as compared to women who justify domestic violence. This finding is supported by analysis of Nivelle et as well. And now, in this model, we get to see the impact of beliefs and attitudes on the pulse curve. So, if a woman does not feel discriminated, her well score increases. If she does not justify domestic violence, her well score increases. When she feels good about her upcoming life, her well score increases. And similarly, when information is added, her well score increases. When communication variable is added, her well score increases. And when the ICT usage variable is added, her well score increases. So here is a very important finding, which is that when ICT variables have proved to be highly significant and positively contributing towards the well score of women, we get to see that in equation 5, when attitudinal control variables are added, an important finding of this table is when information variable is added in the equation 2, women's perception about discrimination has become more significant. So the discrimination variable has become more significant when information, like when her awareness increased, her awareness towards discrimination also increased. This is a very important finding, that women become more aware about the discriminations and about the kind of treatment they're getting in the society after the exposure to ICT. Current study also reveals that negative relationship exists between the material well-being and discrimination, and information communication and ICT skills have positive impact on the well score, mainly because the internet technologies induce development, and they have a positive impact on innovation and higher education as well. So overall, we get to see that the SHA 2020 also explains this, what I will conclude from my presentation, that women are heavily involved in informal commerce, and that this type of e-commerce often enhances women's livelihood by deepening the use of digital and financial services such as mobile wallets, online banking. So when we saw that the impact of all three variables cumulatively, which is the information communication technology, has positive impact on the well-being of women, both material and subjective, in the presence of the patriarchal variables like the victimization and um, safety and in the areas where they live, in the presence of all those circumstances, still ICT had a positive impact on the well-being of women. So it is very important for the policymakers to invest in ICT and in those programs which are channelized for women. So apart from the things that the physical environment should be made conducive for the women, their safety and their neighborhood safety should be enhanced. Uh, Apart from this, investments in ICT is a very, very important area because this is an effectual tool which will empower women economically and this will increase their subjectivity. The CGP report 2020 also states that when women are empowered through ICT, they'll have better connections with the other women, they'll have more convenience in the markets, and they will have to not be burdened by the institutional obligations. This will be low cost, low risk mechanism, and they'll unleash more markets. It will make them more resilient and they will be more innovative in all these forms. So ICT is going to empower them in every way possible, even in the patriarchal society of Pakistan. So thank you so much. I welcome all your um, um, questions and let's meet on 6th July. Thanks, cheers.